Okay, very good. Go ahead.
Well, it's 2020, and Rita and I are sitting down to talk about relationships, and a lot has changed, and it's like a lot of learning and a lot of like understanding patterns of the past and understanding um, where you've come and as far as relationships and dealings with others in your life. Um, when we started doing this Kylego 2 years ago, very interesting. I was going through. I'd been like a year off of like a divorce and had been going through a few minor little struggles with that. I feel like I'd progressed quite a lot, and just understanding how to be single and building a new life, which has always been awesome ever since that point. And just navigating through life after that. So I feel like I created not I don't know I became like kind of this new version of me that I wasn't really aware of, that was probably an authentic self that I hadn't touched into for a long, long time. So it's I'm 50 years old now in 2020, and I'm feeling this really interesting point when it comes to relationships. It's very cool that there isn't that attachment feeling for me as much as there was in the past. Even 2 years ago, I could feel like I could understand this idea of love paired with attachment. But now I'm really kind of understanding that, just being in my space now with things that go on in your life, and how you stepping into authenticity and stepping into the life you want with getting the RV and traveling around and having just awesome experiences with people almost all over the country, and just really finding the different ways of experiencing joy and love and compassion for other people. I meet a lot of people, and it's so, it's kind of like saying goodbye is a little strange, but it's like an okay thing, because it's like a constant thing. It's like a hello and a goodbye. Like life is this hello, goodbye. And you hold folks in your heart, and you wonder if you'll ever see some of these folks ever again, but they've touched you, and you're like, okay, that's the purpose for that. And I don't have to be attached, but I can learn. And I find that now with relationships and even dealings with other folks, I was starting to talk about getting to a know faster. Sometimes, we have like this idea that our ego wants to be attached to something, and we don't trust our gut. And so my motto 2 years ago was, I'm going to get to a no faster. Like when I say if it's not a heck yeah, I'm not going to go into it. But I kind of approach things a little differently now. It's I know that things will resonate. I don't have to say yes or no at all. I can just receive, and I can just also receive the goodbye. I can receive it when people come into your life and come in, and when they part, and it's the natural flow of things. And there's no blame, there's no judgment, there's no, I don't know, there's just no real that ego-related stuff. It doesn't mean you don't fall in love, because oh my gosh, it's like I'm 50 going on 23. When I fall in love, it's kind of like I have this puppy love all over again sometimes, and it's great, because I feel like sometimes I can just fall in love with the drop of the hat, and I can feel that, and I can feel this touching feelings. I'm actually very, very happy to feel that now. I'm very much happy to feel that, and I kind of feel like there's a little bit more, as I grow older, a little more innocence that's creeping in, which is really nice. I really have wanted to tap into that again and find a partner like that again, but I've really found that the best way to find somebody like that is to be that, and let that innocence kind of flow through me, and still take risks at 50. Be the space for other folks that are 50, 60. If you go to an RV park with people who are independent and free, and they feel all this stuff, or even the folks that do this full time, oh my gosh, you want to talk about free spirits. It's like they're my role models. It is, and they talk about their relationships and how kind of fluid they are, and some of them are quite complicated. But instead of judging, like a few years ago, I would have judged that and said, oh, that's kind of dramatic and drama. What the heck are they doing? And why are they thinking that? But they just allow themselves that experience to feel that. And then they move along the road. And maybe they meet up again. Then they move along the road. It's kind of a fun interesting way to live. And doesn't mean they don't have like some long-term relationships, because a lot of them do. They're like, yeah, we just decided. Like, I met an 80-year-old man who just got married again. And he's 80 years old, and he's like, yeah, I'm just falling in love. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? So we would divorce, and, you know, it just, this is like this no fear kind of thing creeping in, which is amazing. And so that's really kind of affected me to a point, just seeing all these people with very, very different types of relationships and very different ways of interacting, that it's so refreshing that at 50 I can feel young. It's so refreshing that at 50 I can have as shallow or as deep of a relationship with someone as I want, and I can realize that there's not a problem when there's not a problem. And I can cry in my camper when somebody leaves that I felt attached to that in that moment, and just say, this is okay to feel this, and you're attached, you can cry in your camper. You know, it's, and that's part of that cool innocence. Like, you know, I remember that when I was like 21, how I could fall in love at the drop of a hat. And I feel like I'm returning to that, although I don't have the desire to do all these things to cover it up like I did back then when I was 21. You know, go to the bar, immerse myself in like too much work, or resist it, you know, cover it up, you know, find something else that's like, that it's an addictive behavior for my ego, so that I don't have to face it. That doesn't happen. So it's like, you know, I'll be at a camp and they're like, we didn't see you come out like most of the day, Scott, and what's going on? And I just been upset about so-and-so leaving, and it affected me, and I'll get better, but I have to feel it and move through it. And people are like, they like that authenticity. They like that. And not everybody, like some people like, oh, you know, man, it's okay. But, you know, you're more than that. And they just offer the things up for their support, however it is for them in their life. But most of the time, it's kind of like moving down the road is the way that people think. And it's beautiful. And yeah, it's so, and business relationships are a little better too. So I feel like there are times I ride that too, where it, you know, in the past my motto was it had to be a heck yeah or a heck no. Now it's kind of like, let's see where we fit in, and then maybe there's a moment of time, maybe there isn't a moment of time. Let's capture that moment and not be attached to it, and really work forward and move it along. Just to say that, you know, I honor, it's like that whole namaste feeling. I honor the presence of spirit in you, because the presence of spirit in me is looking at that, and we're all changing and we all grow. And there's going to be times where people connect, and I thought to myself, I could have missed that. That's the big thing that I was talking about. I could have missed that had I not been open, had I let myself shut down in ways that I used to before. So it's kind of mind-blowing, and you feel kind of like on the edge, and you kind of feel like a roller coaster sometimes, but it's a fun ride. And I've really enjoyed this is really getting to be into new relationships. However, you know, there are some that, you know, you do have to, you know, just honor them, love them, and move down the road too. So, and not be attached to the idea that you could hurt another person. We're all going to like disappoint someone, hurt someone. You know, hopefully if we're as honest as we can be in that space where it's honest and authentic, and yeah, maybe it still hurts. But certainly feels better than being lied to or being deceived or not being authentic to another person. It's that experience. And that's helped me kind of move through with, you know, the divorce thing that happened a few years ago. Is like, that's part of what I realized too. It's like, you know, things had to move through, and I realized that point in time that I was the one who was authentic, and I was feeling things, but but I was also projecting like, why aren't they as authentic as I am? And it sort of projected my feeling about myself, and it caused a lot of turmoil. And like, yeah, I'm authentic and I want to be their friend. And why aren't they wanting to be my friend? Why aren't they as invested in this as I am? And that was that point of, friction. And that was when I realized, like, well, they don't have to, Scott. They don't have to be your friend. They're in their authentic self in this moment, and you just need to recognize that, and recognize what you are desiring, and then maybe this is an attachment, and it's okay to desire something. It's okay for someone else not to desire that, and maybe this is the new phrase too. It's an excuse to put your wheels on the road, and it's okay to put your wheels on the road. And that's kind of the motto that the RV life kind of like is, I get a little too cozy at home, the camper sitting there, it's an excuse to put the wheels on the road. Or I get a little too in my too comfortable or uncomfortable zones, excuse to put your wheels on the road. And not an excuse, but it's an offering to put your wheels on the road. But in your mind, I'm just saying it's an excuse to put your wheels on the road. So, and I like having those times. I recognize those faster. It's like, okay, getting my attachment going on and getting a little comfortable and not being authentic. And now it's a reason for the rubber to hit the pavement and to be authentic and step into that. So, and it's just trusting your body. Yeah, there's so many metaphors I could do with like RV life. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. So it's, yeah. Might be early. I don't know if that was 15 minutes.
It was close. You got about 3 minutes left, but.
3 minutes. Oh, can I end early?
Yeah.
All right.
That's good. But yeah, you had some definite themes in there.
That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering if I should just go ahead and supercharge right now.
If you want to, yeah, go ahead.
I will. I don't know. I'm thinking 5 minutes.
Okay, and see what naturally happens, because I was like, I think I'm done.
Okay.
In 13. You could be done in 4 or 6.
Okay. All right, so we're at 2020, and Scott's been on the road for a couple of years now, and it's been fun to watch what happens and hear all the stories and meet up with them sometimes and participate in the stories and create the stories and everything that's come out of that. The people that he meets and we meet together and just, it's just like a continuous stream of well, stories, because when you're out there in the maybe around a little campfire, that's what it's all about. It's like the front porches that we don't really hang out on anymore. And some people have their satellites on their giant RVs, and they're in there watching whatever TV show, but others like to come and gather. And Scott has developed relationships. Sometimes they're just in that moment for the 1 or 2 days that they're both in the park together, and sometimes it's ongoing. And you've gotten so fluid in that because you, partly because of your experience of traveling back and forth and as spirit, between spirit and physical. So you know that you can go and have a conversation with this new friend anytime you want if they're open to it. You can meet up with them one way or another. And because you have this fluidity, like dying is not a worry for you anymore. And that just sort of emanates off of you. Like people just gravitate to that feeling that the fear of death isn't around this guy. Isn't that interesting? And it's just like a magnet for people, and it sets them at ease, and they know that they can come into your campground space and not have any kind of attachment thing, any kind of cord going out to them, because you're just okay. And you know that the fluidity that you're experiencing in these travels around the country with your camper that you love is feeding you in a way that you can't do when you're stationary. And people are more open when they're traveling, and so they're more willing to absorb these new expressions of who Scott is, and they're more fluid, and that maybe it's just the nature of being on the road. So you also bring that back with you when you want to stay in your home base, and so people are moving through easily in your life no matter where you are. And that goes for personally and in business relationships. And some people get kind of worried about that fluidity, that they want to be able to hold on and be certain about stuff. But you have found the people who really stay with you are the ones who can jump on board or create their own adventure, and that you jump on board and you can go back and forth between, that they know that you'll be around as long as you want to be, they want you to be, and that's the best way to be in any kind of relationship. And an ending of a relationship is an opportunity to feel something, whether it's relief or grief or just some other lesson that's there for us. That's what you're stepping into.
Thank you. I like that ending a relationship is an opportunity to step into something to feel it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, so 2020, and Scott and I have been Kylegoing for 2 years, and we're becoming quite masterful at it, and really really feeling the power of what it offers. It's like a slowing down of time and being able to see from a higher vantage point. The Kylego process tends to just deliver wisdom through us, and we really are just totally trusting it now. And somewhere in 2018, well, February, I had this real lesson put in front of me, because I was really stepping into this message of getting quiet is a thing. Scott was fabulous in just latching onto it and being a witness to it, which is so valuable and not always easy to find. And so I had this conversation with I had an idea for a book, based around this whole thing of getting quiet and really feeling your feelings, and it's definitely along the same lines as what Kyle Cease is promoting, has been promoting, and is stepping into even more, and something I've been doing for a long time, but just felt it was so private that I wouldn't have occurred to me to put it out there to the world. But had this idea for a book called That's It, I Quit. A guide for artists and creatives in the fine art of giving up. And I spoke to this publisher about it, and they were really, they just really grasped onto this. I think they were in that dying paradigm of manipulation marketing. And they were saying these words that I really loved and that really brought something out of me, that it really sparked that idea and made me kind of develop it. But their whole system of actually working with me was a taking from the author. And as I was speaking to what they're calling the talent scout, who's really just a salesperson, I just felt just like this moment when the energy just was sucked out of me. And it was so interesting because I've felt that before, but almost felt it like some sort of flaw in me. Like, oh, I can't handle this kind of, I'm like, my attention span is gone, or, I had these other stories around it. But this time I recognized it as, oh, this is a parasitic system that they're promoting, couched in this really loving, this marketing persona, anyway, the important part was that I recognized at that time. So since then, in that moment, I had to really decide, okay, do I really believe this message that I have, that it's okay to get quiet and really trust yourself? Or do you want to believe how things have to go? Do you want to believe the rules of how you're going to be successful? All of the stories out there that were coming at us for how you have to go about things to be successful. And if you don't, you might as well just get a job with Amazon in their warehouse. And just deal with that slavery system. Because you're gonna fail. So I had to really own it that week. I had to, even though all of these things sounded really, really good, I had to step back and really own it. And from there, that was like everything turned around. As I was talking to the salesperson, I realized, oh, if you were actually a manager, a literary manager, or an entertainment manager, you would actually be willing to develop my multiple talents and create something with me that would feed you, pay you, and pay me, rather than just taking it all up front from me and then promising that it was all going to go well. And so that was the week I really got certain that I wanted to find a manager who was going to connect with me and really work with me. And that's when all of my projects started to get attention. That's just that shift, that that feeling of being ready and being something of value to someone who has the expertise of how to get it out there into the world, and the excitement about that. And so I found this perfect manager. They take a percentage, but I am happy to be paying this person because they have a knowledge and connections and talents that I don't, and I have talents that they don't. And so it's a really nice relationship. And meanwhile, I'm also getting the message out there that being quiet really is a valuable thing. And this manager understands that I don't have to be constantly producing and meeting deadlines and chasing and, you know, that whole thing of what we've been told, what we used to be told, because it's really shifted in the last couple of years, that you really have to chase and hustle all the time or you're just going to be swept under the rug. You know, you put out a project and you launch it and you get the attention, but if you don't just keep feeding that monster of attention and recognition, that it's going to just disappear. And so that whole fear thing, is that system of feeding people's fear is disappearing, and I'm helping it, and Scott's helping it, and we're working together to help it go away. And we are feeding the truth that who we are inside, that our soul is really the thing that's doing the work out there, the work, the making the necessary connections, regardless of what we're projecting. It's really our soul doing the connecting. So do we want to consciously put our soul to work and make those connections in a way that we really are solid in who we are? Or do we want to just present this persona while our soul is going around the back door and doing the connecting anyway? Whether we do it consciously or not, that's our soul is connecting. So that's become easier to communicate in these last 2 years, and it's easier for other people to understand, and they're starting to trust it and live it a little bit, or more and more. And Scott and I are working together to get that message out there, that feeling of non-attachment relationships, because that's part of it, is letting everyone be free to be who they are in this moment right now. And me having the opportunity to either say, yes, let's connect, or I think that we aren't in the same place, so I think I'll go do something else right now. And that's okay, because there are always people to connect with, no matter what condition or what condition your soul is in. So that week, it was really fascinating, and it didn't feel good at the time. But as I accepted all of it, I really started to feel the benefit of that experience and not walk away feeling like that that publisher was like victimizing me in some way or wanted to victimize me. I could just say thank you for that opportunity to really know myself, and no thank you to your system, and walk away without the like that nagging feeling of, oh no, have I missed an opportunity? Because they really promised some really good things, and they said I could do it, and I didn't have to feel that second guessing. And it became clear the amount of energy that goes into the second guessing that used to just be a constant thing. That unsureness has gone away, and what a better way to live that is. Even in this very what seems precarious at times, this art and creating and speaking, teaching, never having that 2 weeks between paychecks. It's just, it could be 2 days, it could be 2 months. Never having that what people feel is a solid career. It feels so solid now because I'm trusting my instincts and the wisdom that comes through, and no matter what the experience is, it has something to teach me, and as long as I feel my way through it and allow in the moment those feelings to come up in my body and my spirit and soul, that's where the certainty comes from. And so that could only happen with all of that time I spent getting quiet and moving feelings out that were just kind of addictive, it's part of the facade that we are taught that we need to operate in the world. So now I'm so much more vulnerable, or it would appear that I'm more vulnerable because it's all just out there. But it's so much stronger and more powerful than keeping a wall between me and whatever's coming at me. And that's that.
Ooh, that was good. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
How'd that feel?
Yeah, that was good.
This is one we're both going to need to watch.
Yeah.
Today, right. For us. So this is good. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, set me up for 5 minutes. I want to do this while it's fresh.
Okay.
Fresh. All right. So it's 2020. It's 2020, and Rita's is like talking about her book, I Quit. So it's, and basically, pretty much her first chapter was written from like a transcript of the Kylego we did 2 years prior. So it was all of her, like, her introduction, first chapter was all about this talk that she had with a publisher, the feeling in her body and the energy just being flushed away, and like one more expectation, one more hustly deal, and one more feeling that she had to be in this this chaotic fast lane to be successful. And that's me paraphrasing. So, but she wrote that first chapter based off of that Kylego, and then And then this whole process actually unfolded to where she could write subsequent chapters based on things that came through. And so writing this book for her was as easy as speaking it into fruition based on her getting quiet and based on her, the practice that she does daily. It wasn't an effort for her to write this book because she was living it. And now that it's been out and it's been kind of like, I hand out copies when I travel, and she's got, we've had an interview with Julia Cameron. I don't know how that even transpired, but I had a hit like early on that somehow let's talk to Julia Cameron, the author of The Artist's Way, and we got it. We had her together with Julia Cameron just talking about art and recovery and getting in touch with spirit, and that video was just amazing. And that also went viral to like help Rita get that book I Quit out into other people's hands really quickly. Not that it wasn't growing anyway, but this whole idea has really kind of like, it's a little bit of a threat to the whole publishing and art, publishing and writing establishment. And it's very honest and it's very forthright, but it's also kind of like the first chapter, is just like kind of this little, it's this little detour sign in the road that says you don't have to take this path. And here's what happens when you get quiet and you feel these things, and you also, step out and write and step out and do. And it's something that all sorts of artists have resonated with. They're like, they felt that the same way that she felt that. It was an authentic piece of work. Everything that like an artist and a creator feels, and everything that an artist and creator goes through when they like try and put their work out to a larger audience. And it's really refreshing. Like the words that people say are refreshing, authentic, breath of fresh air. I want to quit too. And since she quits, she sells paintings. She's also like, we talked about this earlier on. She like now has this, when she wants to, she does Rita's easel, and she talks about that in the book, about different ideas and how people connect authentically with art and artists, and about that space of being quiet with art. And so people who have read this book and who are like, teachers of art and this process and coaches are starting to approach this idea of creating things in a different way. And it's this little quiet little revolution that's happening that getting, like she says, like in the first preface, getting quiet is a thing. And that phrase has come about a lot of things. Like coaches will often reference that, getting quiet is a thing by Rita Roberts. And so it is a thing. And Rita has really taken from what's deep in her just to sort of talk about these issues that kind of were, and we're going to like Kylego this in the future too, that, we're at 2020, but let's talk about 2025 when this kind of paradigm had to change, because enough coaches, enough artists are really on board, and they're starting to shift things. They're starting to tell their agents and publishers, excuse me, I don't think so. And they're, as the digital age comes about, they don't have to, and they actually make more money being on their own and finding these collaborators that will really, and it's not about money, it's like this authentic experience. Like they actually have better connections, which turns into abundance for them on a higher level. Whether that's, yeah,
that's good. Thank you.
That was quick. I was like, oh my gosh, that was 5.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. That'll be fun to listen to.
So what if you did write your book off of Kylegos that you do?
Wouldn't that be easy? Right.
Yeah. A chapter a week. It's
That'd
really
be fabulous.
it probably is that simple.
Right.